In this video, I'm going to take you through my top 5 cigars currently in my humidor. First up is the Behike 54. Now, the reason why the Behike 54 is particularly special is because it has that 4th leaf, whereas all the other cigars in the Habanos roster have 3 leaves, the Volado, the Seco, and the Ligero. This has the Medio Tiempo added to it. It usually grows at the very top of the plant, doesn't grow for every single plant, so that's why it's more scarce. And then when it's harvested, it gets put towards the Behike. Now, when there's things like hurricanes and stuff, that makes a huge shortage of Medio Tiempo, so they cannot make Behikes. It's why they're very, very difficult to find these days in the wild. So if you have one, they're very valuable. There are 3 sizes of Behike. There's the 52, the 54, and the 56. This is the mid-range, it's the 54, which I think is the best one. And it's still in my humidor these days because I need to wait for a special occasion to smoke it. The numbers refer to the ring gauge, so this is the 54, so it's a 54 ring gauge. For those of you who don't know, a ring gauge is 1/64 of an inch. So if you have a 64 ring gauge cigar, it's exactly an inch wide. Next up is this is the Trinidad Fundadores. Now, the reason why this is particularly special is because it was made back in the day when Trinidad were made at the El Laguito factory, which exclusively make Cohiba nowadays. So this is one of the great sought-after aged cigars. It's a favourite of Gemma Freeman, who is the chairman of Hunters and Francow, and anything that's a favourite of hers, frankly, is worth getting. Number 3 is this particular one, which only just fits into the humidor. It's the Monte Cristo A, and it is from 1996. The Monte Cristo A is, in theory, it's a regular production cigar. It's not regional, it's not limited, but it's very, very difficult to find these days because of the format. They don't make as many, and it's harder to make as many. And in terms of regular production, they're going to look a lot more to making the number 2, the El Mundo, etc., etc., etc. So if you want to find a Monte A, you've really got to look hard. You really need to know your merchants incredibly well and be a little bit of a high roller. So I'm very, very lucky to have this, which goes with a box of them in my humidor. Number 4 is the Cohiba Robusto Supremos. Now, the reason why this is particularly special is because when it first came out in 2014, in fact, there was a slight concern about the size of it because it was really wide as a cigar. It didn't necessarily fly, but then something happened. It just took off. And when it was selling initially at about £40 a stick, you will now not be able to pick these up for less than £650 a stick. This is therefore one of the cigars that really show how cigars have become an asset class of their own, so something that's collectible, not necessarily just consumable. As with wines or whiskies, cars, all sorts of things, watches especially as well, some of them will have the ability to appreciate in a way that far exceeds what the market is able to control, just because they are coveted and also limited. This has far exceeded 10 times its initial value, so therefore shows how cigars are one of those reliable places to put your money if you know what to put them into. And finally, we have this. It veers off the Cuban market for a bit, and we're now on to what you'll see as the Tom Chamberlain Private Reserve Opus X. Now, I was given this as a gift from Carlito Fuente for helping him promote his book, and all I did was I sort of ran a Q&A with him and the great Aaron Sigmund, who were kind enough to present this to me at the end of it. And you know, the Opus X is a difficult thing to find. It's really a coveted cigar from the non-Cuban market, in the same way that some of the Padrons are. But the Opus X is an extraordinary brand of its own. It's very difficult for cigars outside of the Cuban market to have that kind of hold. So when you go to America, if you can find Opus X's, it's incredibly difficult because people want to snap them up so fast, and they are made limited edition. I think it's only 75 a day they're allowed to make in the factory. So having this box is really special. The cigars are also delicious, as it happens.